How do you guys think about kind of, how brands should approach creator marketing in a world post-follower, and where the algorithm's the most important factor?
100%. Well, I think you nailed it on the head, right? In the times where we were talking about follower counts, or at least influencer marketing was being predicated on follower, it was about these kind of flash pan pulse campaigns, right? The thought process back then was, let me go get somebody with 1 million followers because it'll give me the quickest way and the quickest spend to get to a million eyeballs, which, as you and I know as marketers, wasn't really the case anyway, right?
Even back then, it was like 20% of the audience.
Exactly right. So I think what's changed is exactly what you kind of touched on, which is now you've got a world where not everybody's a creator, but there's more creators than ever. And really you're seeing these grassroots, nano, micro, maybe even macro level creators who are actually getting more brand deals. And why is that? It's because they penetrate communities more effectively. And so to your point, when we talk about who is an audience that's actually being reached, somebody who has 25,000 followers that are very, very engaged is going to get your brand messaging out much further than somebody with 2 million followers that's reaching 1% of their followers.
Hey, what's up, everybody? We got another episode of the Ad Podcast coming to you live from the Possible Show. We've got Brandon Lentino, who is the Chief Creative Officer of Viral Nation, one of the largest influencer marketing companies, talent management companies, and networks in the world.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Super excited. Love what you're doing with the programming and the show, and looking forward to a conversation.
Let's go. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What's new at Viral Nation, and what are you guys doing this week?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And so, I love your intro. Influencer marketing, definitely creative marketing, talent representation, our lifeblood. But I think 2026 Viral Nation, really at this point, it's a full service social media marketing company. So talent representation, influencer marketing, still the core of everything that we do. But now, full suite of services and solutions for enterprise brands that are looking to show up the effective way across social. So scaled social content, paid social, strategy, of course, community management, which is one of our most effective and kind of highly offered services. So our goal is really to help the world's biggest brands show up in all of the ways that allow them to be the most effective in marketing to where consumer eyeballs are nowadays, which is social media. But really what I think is the most important to everything that we do is it's led by intelligence. So, you asked me what's exciting right now at the company. We've developed over the course of the last decade, actually, Social AI, which is our proprietary data and social intelligence platform. And really that's the engine of everything that we do. From a predictive standpoint, in understanding everything from the best creators to work with from a data standpoint, to making sure they're brand safe from an AI and intelligence standpoint, to the way that we use predictive creative intelligence to tell us, which formats are going to work best for our clients.
What should be included,
exactly
key
right.
messaging.
So just trying to, raise the waters of the entire industry and remove, not to say remove the human spark out of anything, because good ideas always come from humans, but at least for our partners and again, the industry as a whole, make social marketing more precise, filled with precision, more formulaic, more scientific, because at the end of the day, it is a science. It's about what's the algorithm going to respond to, and how do you hit that algorithm over and over with the things that are going to put your brand front of mind, whether your objective is awareness, conversion, or whatever that might be.
How do you guys think about things changing since, we've kind of moved from the world of like follower count being like the key differentiator and like the currency of creators to a world where, some kid that starts on Instagram tomorrow has the same chance, theoretically, because of the algorithm of going viral. I hate using that terminology, but it's in your name, right?
Absolutely,
so,
man.
At the end of the day, that's what everybody's after, is whether it's, they want earned media. They want as much attention as the algorithm will give them, and they want to use the algorithm as a proxy for what to do with their paid strategy. To get the auction to give them that inventory cheaper. How do you guys think about kind of, how brands should approach creator marketing in a world post-follower, and where the algorithm's the most important factor?
100%. Well, I think you nailed it on the head, right? In the times where we were talking about follower counts, or at least influencer marketing was being predicated on follower, it was about these kind of flash pan pulse campaigns, right? It was, how do I get a jolt really quickly for a moment, a launch, a product I want to push out? And the thought process back then was, let me go get somebody with 1 million followers because it'll give me the quickest way and the quickest spend to get to a million eyeballs, which, as you and I know as marketers, wasn't really the case anyway, right?
Even back then, it was like 20% of the audience.
Exactly right. So I think what's changed is exactly what you kind of touched on, which is now you've got a world where not everybody's a creator, but there's more creators than ever. And really you're seeing these grassroots, nano, micro, maybe even macro level creators who are actually getting more brand deals. And why is that? It's because they penetrate communities more effectively. And so to your point, when we talk about who is an audience that's actually being reached, somebody who has 25,000 followers that are very, very engaged is going to get your brand messaging out much further than somebody with 2 million followers that's reaching 1% of their followers. And so beyond just the type of creator, I think it's the move from, as I said earlier, these pulse campaigns to always on creator marketing. So it's activating, an always on roster, an always on pulse of these smaller creators that are penetrating these communities and sub niches that a brand's core audience makes up, and really making sure that they're not only hitting them with consistent messaging that makes sense, but they're a voice that speaks with the community versus at the community. And I think
they say from an authenticity because they're a part of it.
Exactly right. And so I think that's the biggest thing that brands need to be. Or they came from it. And that's, if I had to say it saliently, that's the biggest thing that I think brands need to be thinking about in creator marketing nowadays is what does your always on creator marketing strategy look like throughout the year? It shouldn't be something that drips at certain points. It should really be something that's working for you from January to December, whenever your fiscal year starts, if you really want to be staying front of mind in these communities.
Yeah, it's like you should have an influencer program or an influencer strategy, not a campaign.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
All right, so for a long time, people have tried to treat creators as programmatic inventory.
Yeah.
They've wanted to get as close to making it as easy as setting up a paid media campaign in Google or Facebook. You guys have definitely created pipes to facilitate that process. Are we close, or have we achieved software being able to do everything from end to end?
It's a great question.
Like you were talking about, like audience insights. What are the communities that I'm trying to target?
Yeah.
Then who's the creators? Then it's getting the brief in front of them.
Yeah.
Then it's revisions of the creative once they've agreed. It's contracting. It's payment. And
Absolutely.
There's analytics to report out. How close are we to that dream?
I think we're probably the closest we've ever been, and it's not that I think that there is a one-stop solution. I don't think it's a magic platform that's going to do everything seamlessly, but I do think, again, going back to a world of intelligence, AI, those types of tools are driving efficiency at each of those steps. So, for us, I mentioned social AI as an intelligence platform for the upfront, for insights. So we've made what used to take, let's say, a strategy team days or weeks to pull insights and tell a story to hours or a day in order to pull the same type of insight story. So you're getting to who are the best people that I need to get to much quicker. When we talk about, you mentioned negotiation or those steps, there's a ton of opportunity there, and a lot of which we're already playing in, again, with some of our own proprietary AI to make those negotiations done at scale through agentic offerings, or get to an outreach email drip system much quicker through an agentic kind of outlook. So I think it's, as I said, less about each of the individual steps being done in a platform that's a win, and more about how are you thinking about tools or AI to power these steps much quicker, so that a campaign that used to maybe take 6 weeks to set up is now something that can be done in half a week, depending upon the scale, a week, or whatever that might be.
And you can make changes quickly
And make changes quickly as well. And I think that's the important piece as well. Going back to your question about creators and how it kind of all plays into this, I think it's also about setting up campaigns with long-term relationships with creators, but then making sure that those relationships are performance-driven, right? So that you're not constantly in a scramble every moment or every phase of your campaign to find a new crop of creators, or you're going right back to the shortlisting process. You've got these longer-term partnerships that are set up. You've got a really healthy content ecosystem coming out of those creator ambassadors, but you're also being very cognizant about how you're measuring performance, because you also don't want to be stuck in a long-term relationship where things aren't working, right? Yeah. But I think if you've set up your briefs, if you've set up your contracts the right way, so that yes, you're thinking about a longer term, but you also have the right ways to make sure that there's accountability on both, the brand or agency side and the creator side to perform and make pivots if things aren't performing. To me, that's kind of the sweet spot of the best way to set things up right now.
Love it. As Chief Creative Officer, how are you thinking about campaigns for clients from a creative lens? Are there things in the next 6 months to 12 months that brands should be thinking about how creators are experiencing the world and things that are important to them?
Yeah.
I hate to be like trend Jackie, but more, are there like broad things that you think are hot opportunities for brands to engage with creators in new ways that aren't, the typical things that have been done time and time again. Anything
100%.
exciting, in your mind?
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing that I'm excited about is I love when brands are working with creators to create ownable IP. So you're starting to see these episodic series. You're starting to see brands, you're seeing them in the cosmetic space. I was just watching one from InStyle.
Gap hired a chief entertainment officer
Exactly
recently.
Right. And you're starting to see these micro dramas. They're almost like TV shows that are unfolding in these short form formats. And it's a really interesting opportunity because, to your point, even Gap hiring a chief entertainment officer, social media at the end of the day is moving into an entertainment medium. And so it's actually not even about content anymore, it's about programming. And how are you thinking about your programming? And how are you thinking about formats that drive your audience to come back to your feed or to your platforms on a repeatable way? The same way television used to do.
Viewing, essentially,
back in the day.
Going to your favorite podcast every night.
Exactly right. And I think creators offer a really interesting opportunity, right? Because it's not like a brand can't create this IP themselves. And
but
you
then
very
you're
well
manufacturing characters essentially from scratch.
Exactly right.
You get to jumpstart it if you've got creators that already have a name and likeness in a format that people are used to. Then it's like one degree of separation instead of reinventing the wheel.
Exactly right. And so you're seeing this in all different ways that I'm really excited about. We've got some great friends. My guy Nick over at Harry's Razors is doing a really great one right now. It's such a simple format. It's comedians. They do it weekly. It's comedians in a bathtub. They're doing an interview. It's kind of like a
coffee and cars.
And they're killing it, man. And again, so it goes back to what I was saying about finding the right comedians. Not all of their comedians are these big names. What they're actually doing really well is they're finding these up and coming comedians.
So they're almost being like curators.
They're curators, exactly right.
And trying to give platforms to up and comers, so brands they can be associated with that brand early, but also they're giving something valuable to their audience. Like, hey, you might not know this guy. Give him a follow.
Exactly right. And those comedians that are up and coming, and this goes for any creator that's up and coming, they're coming with these cult followings, right? It's like, your favorite cult movie. It's like, it's not the biggest mainstream blockbuster, but the love for it is insane. And you're seeing that with these up and coming creators. They've cultivated these communities that are, ravenous for anything that they're doing. And so to your point, for a brand, you're pulling in that kind of already existing affinity. You're giving them a platform, which also signals to the audience, like, this isn't a capitalistic endeavor with a creator that's money-based. They can feel something that a brand saw in them. So you're just cultivating this really captivating environment for brand love. And I think that, again, more and more brands need to be thinking about that type of ownable IP. And if you can collaborate with a creator on it and get them excited about it, I think that's going to be probably the most exciting. And for us, that's where we're really thinking about campaigns now. How do we think less about, not to say that the 30-day content calendar is going to go away and everything is going to be episodes, but how do you create these anchor episodes and this anchor IP that can really sustain a calendar ongoing, test it, learn it, make sure it's working, and then surround it with other things like you mentioned, the trend that you don't know is going to pop up next week that you need to react to. So just kind of shifting what maybe used to be an editorial content calendar of 30 individual posts to something that feels a little bit more programmed and then surrounded with these trend moments that you still need to hit to jolt the algorithm.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Like, you almost feel like creators now are entering the space with a format or a program in mind that's 100%. Unique and fresh. It's generally a derivative of something that existed somewhere in the world. But talking about a brand doing something like, hey, Coffee and Cars was fun with Seinfeld. Let's do it in the bathtub because that's relevant, contextually relevant. People shave in the bathtub.
100%.
Right? But then I've been meeting creators like at Lawston. We work with this guy named Scotty, and he does this remote work series where he basically is like, make remote work remote again, and he'll go like on the beach and work from the beach, or work from a field, and it's like remote, and he's just exploding, getting all these views. He's growing really fast, but it's every time it's like the same format. Or I met this other kid at South by Southwest where his thing is like, he walks up to a stranger and he offers them $100 to cook for him.
Yeah, I love that guy.
And it's episodic. You always know what to expect. The stories are different every time.
100%.
The environment's different time. But it's like the dance videos back in the day where it's
100%.
like, hey, oh, funny, now do it in China, right? And the guys in China a week later,
or you remember,
becomes interactive, right?
And you remember, you think about it, Caleb Simpson was doing this years ago with hey, do you mind showing me your place, right? Back then it was, people were looking at it as just like, oh, this is a cool street interview, because that was the style. Right. But really, to your point, it was a repeatable format early on. And so I think people are catching catching on more. And the difference is maybe those types of formats are a little bit more, people are doing more of them. So it's about how do you take it up a level. And that's
and it can evolve. It's like the Mr. Beast world where like you take your money, talent, skills, reinvest and make it bigger and more extreme. Right. Every time you're leveling up, you're one-upping, you're getting to some, peak nirvana state where you're like Mr. on Beast Amazon state. Giving away $1 billion or something like that.
Absolutely, brother, absolutely.
I love it. Awesome, man. Well, so great to meet you.
Such a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me on.
Get some of your thinking, and on that note, if people want to follow along with your thoughts ongoing, stay connected, or learn more about Viral Nation, where do you want to send folks?
Yeah, so you can follow us on all platforms, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, at Viral Nation, viralnation.com. And make sure you guys tap in with Dylan and all his programming, doing some amazing things, amazing guests, and we're just trying to push the industry forward, brother.
Let's go.
Let's do it, brother.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
Let's go.